All right, we'll start. Hello to you all. We will start as usual with joining your palms together and bowing. And the recitation of the four great vows. I vow to deliver innumerable sentient beings. I vow to cut off endless vexations. I vow to master limitless approaches to Dharma. I vow to attain supreme Buddhahood. Welcome to you all. Tonight we're going to talk about transferring merit. We're going to approach it in different ways. Part of it we're going to talk about is historically transfer of merit and the how-tos and what is transfer of merit. And we'll be also referring to the devotional side. And all of this is in the flavor of right view, which provides a much deeper and profound and to me a more effective way of transferring merit. And if we have some time at the end, we might go into a little bit more of an esoteric transfer of merit. I looked this through many different sources in terms of source material for this particular lecture. And it was good because different encyclopedias and different books talk about transfer of merit in different ways. Some of them, they're scholastic, some historical, some doctrinal, and some in practice. So it's all of those things, and we should be aware of these in terms of when we talk about it. The first thing, and I just love this definition, was from the Oxford Encyclopedia. And if you don't know about the Oxford Encyclopedia in terms of Buddhism, it's a really high level discussion and exploration of Buddhism. So if you ever want to use some source material, that's one of the good ones to go to. And it starts with this. It says, merit transfer is directing, very important word here, is directing one's own good deeds or karma to benefit another being. And here, the only thing I would change would be merit transfer is directing the mind's own goods, own good deeds and karma to the benefit of another illusory being. And to be very, very clear about what is happening here, it is directing the mind. And throughout the very high level sutras and treatises, there is the notion of directing the mind, not so much as that you should do this or you should look at this, but it's like getting up here, and if you're here, directing it towards where it should be at. And so essentially it's mind, this is the mind's hand, and it turns it in the proper way. So when we talk about this and we say we direct it, it's a very important word, because in this direction, we're using our heart and we're directing our heart, because the sum total of all the practice of Mahayana leads to this deep wisdom. And from the Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi wisdom comes this unbridled compassion. When I say unbridled, it means like a horse that doesn't have a bridle in its mouth. It's free to go wherever it needs to go. And when we're doing it in this way, it allows that horse this free range to roam in, but not necessarily without direction. It isn't that one has to have, like in ox herding pictures, the leash on the ox, but in the last ox herding pictures, there's no leash. They're just simply sitting on the ox until the next pictures. There's nothing there, but the sitting is the directing of mind, not your mind, but mine. If you were a bus driver, you're not going to be driving just a few people. Your bus is the entire uh, realm of the Buddha. And all of that is being driven and directed in the proper way. And you understand this. Now, if you want to run it into the ground and you go, oh, look, a pool hall, or sorry, some of you might play pool, so forgive me if I step on you. Look, whatever it is, a donut hall, and you go, oh, I want to go in there. And is that really where you really want to direct this mind to go to? Or do you want it to go in a smoother, better direction, a more wholesome direction, which they talk about of kusala? And this kusala is these action or merit that come from making the right choice moment to moment. When we have this kind of a merit, then everything fits together. And here I'm talking about, when we're talking about thoughts of kusala and akusala thoughts, and bringing it here, clicking, well, look, it fits. Kusala fits with merit. And so it's very interesting when we do that, because we have the right thought, the right action that we're doing. And this is a demonstration of mind. When we understand it, it is not I am transferring merit to this person or this one. It is the heart. And you could say Gilbert is directing the mind in this way. Gilbert is not directing his mind, but the illusory Gilbert is sitting on top of the ox and pointing the way, so to speak, until there's no such thing as the somebody sitting on the ox. It is in this way, when we get to the final panel of the ox herding pictures, there's neither the ox nor the boy sitting on the ox. But I want to approach it in this way so that you get an idea that this is not just a textbook or academic way of saying, let's transfer merit. Too many scholars that I had researched in preparing for this class get painted into a corner of trying to anthropomorphize or personify transfer of merit, rather than seeing it as a natural progression of Buddha Dharma and a natural result of wisdom that comes through, not your wisdom, not my wisdom, but simply what needs to be done. So let's continue on. The practices of merit transfer are common in all major Buddhist traditions and are typically performed to help the deceased family members, deities, all beings. And here is where we have to stop and say, wait. You guys are missing a lot. If you're thinking that it's just for a recitation for the dead, there's nothing wrong with that. That's quite noble to do that. But it's more than this. It's a moment-to-moment transfer of merit, moment-to-moment connection. Just less than an hour ago, I was at Home Depot and talking to a clerk, and so I was explaining that I was traveling a lot, and then when she asked me why, then I was talking to her very, very calmly, and as I said, give me a pen and paper, and I started writing information about myself. And she, while I was doing that, she says, and somebody that was accompanying me, you're both so very calm and quiet. There was an issue about so-called fraudulent Home Depot birthday card that I got, and so it was all resolved, but I had to go attorney on them. But in any case, she said, you're so calm and you're quiet. And I said, yes, because I teach. This is what I teach. So this too is transferring merit, is it not? You're using that moment of your calmness and your serenity in the face of this big thing where they're saying, this is not even one of our cards. This is like a fake card completely, and I'm just sitting there waiting, biding my time. And the thing is that instead I use it for the benefit of making a connection with somebody that knows very little about Buddhism, much less about meditation, but inviting them to make a connection. In this way, we understand it doesn't have to be I'm converting them, and to have them become a Buddhist. It's just making a connection. This is transfer of merit. You created an environment around you that enables the merit to to be broadcast around you, and the people feel that, and in turn they make a connection. Whether they know you're making a connection, they know they're making a connection on a sound hearer level, but on a much different level, you're making a deeper connection with them. And so it's one that I say, I will see you, if not in this lifetime, the next lifetime, and I will deliver you too. And how can that be? How can we transfer merit like that and set the course? How not? You have to remember that to know all the Buddhas of the past, present, and future, you perceive that all phenomena, Dharma, Dhatu, nature, is created by the mind. You are directing the mind. This nobleness of you, part of the Gotra clan, of the Ratna Gotra clan, is directing the mind. You direct it all the time, but you direct it towards a bunch of crummy stuff. Look, there's a donut. Let's go get the donut. Or you can say, look, here's a sentient being that's listening. Let's present the Dharma. Let's offer the Dharma. Now, initially, if I had like a dozen donuts in a box, people would love me because I'm handing them donuts everywhere I go. But that's very, very shallow, in terms of that. But when you're offering these precious jewels, you don't have to stick around to see if they pick it up or not. You've just left that there. These kind of karmic or psychic breadcrumbs that will lead them further down the road. Oh, I once met a Chan master, and he was very nice, and he was this way, and I have the information from him. It may or may not happen, but it's not bad. And so this is part of why transferring of the merit works, is because there's a sincerity there that we do this. In another definition, let's see if I can find it. They talk about it in a little bit different way, and that is that it says, for the method of transferring merits, quite simple. First, some good deeds are performed. So it's saying you got to do something. If you still could transfer merit, let's say, but if you are somebody that has bad habits and not really caring about anybody in your life, the merits that you can give others will probably benefit you more than the other person because of the weakness of it. But nevertheless, in the proper way, it still could be directed and produce results if it's done in a sincere way. But it's saying that the doer of the good deeds has merely to wish that the merit he or she has gained, accrues to someone in particular or to all beings. This wish can be purely mental, or it can be an expression of words. Sometimes I'll say to people, I bless you all, or I transfer the merit of this to you, and I'm saying it out loud, or I can just simply say it in mind. It's still the same thing. One of them is appearing phenomenally, the other one is appearing phenomenally in consciousness, a little different, but the same thing. But the intent behind it is pure mind, pure sincerity of the mind. It has nothing to do with the so-called giver or doer. It is mind guiding, actually, and this direction of the mind, directing mind. There's not a you there, and there's not a receiver, as in the Mahaprajna Paramita Sutra talks about. There's neither a giver or a receiver. We understand that. We understand that when we say the four great vows, I vow to deliver innumerable sentient beings of self nature. And I wholeheartedly ask you to practice and say it in this way, to cut off endless vexations of self nature, of limitless approaches to Dharma, self nature, and attain supreme Buddhahood of self nature. I've been saying this quite a bit recently, but the reason is that all of this is mind. The self nature is the self nature of mind. To know all the Buddhas of the past, present, future, mind knows it. It's all created by the mind. If mind creates it, it knows how it creates it. Gilbert can't figure that out. He kind of knows it book wise, book smart, but he can't figure it out from the real true heart, this unlimited heart. But mind knows. Mind knows because it was there. Every time something's created in mind, mind is there. Sometimes it appears that the mind is sleeping when it all happens, but it isn't in this way. It's like somebody opening their wallet and realizing they don't have any money left. What happened to the money? You have to remember you spent this on that box of donuts, and then you bought this and you bought that and you bought this, and that's where the money went. Remember handing out the dollars. So mind knows all of that, but when it's occluded or obstructed by phenomena, it's like a clogged toilet, sorry to tell you, but everything just backs up. You can't see anything. But when it's just moving unobstructed, everything can be seen just as it is. When we understand how mind works, now we're ready to be able to transfer merit. By the way, this lecture isn't going anywhere like I thought it was going to go to, but it's still coming out and effective. So we get to another line of the Oxford, and it says, merit transfer is also important in Mahayana understanding of the Bodhisattva path, which involves dedicating all one's merit for the good of others. And this is where the transfer of merit really flourished. It was there from the beginning, from the Buddha. It was there in Theravada. Some scholars say, oh, it was a machination of Mahayana Buddha. No, it wasn't. It was there from the very beginning. And there's texts, not only that, but there are, what do they call, epiphograms, I think, something like this. On you would probably know the name of them, where you have a stone that you carve inscriptions on. And so way back in like 300 BCE, there were already these grams that were carved into stones referring to transfer of merit. So it wasn't a modern day convention or a convention that was made or something came up afterwards. It was just amplified. Just so as our practice became one of a self-practice to reach nirvana, in Mahayana, it became amplified to represent mind and the heart itself. And of course, transferring the merit is going to be a natural result of that. It's such an important part of our practice. because we're not there and we're not reciting the Buddha's name, and go, Amitofu, Amitofu, let me win the lottery. Amitofu, let me win the lottery. Amitofu, let me get a job. Amitofu, let me get close to this person. Amitofu, Amitofu. Like that. No, we don't do that. Some religions do that. It's kind of the what they call pie in the sky and here too. And you can chant for whatever you want, but that's kind of more outer path. I won't name names of them, but there's some that do that. It's like old. There was a Christian pastor that used to be on TV called Reverend Ike, and he said "pie in the sky" and here too, and he wore the most exquisite suits and drove the fanciest cars. No, but it wasn't. It's not like that. About 2 years ago, I told you I'm the richest man in the world because at that time I felt I was the richest man in the world because I have so much jewels. But the jewels I have, they don't adorn me in terms of that. I don't wear 5 carat diamond rings or ruby earrings or whatever. Um, the riches is giving to others because every time I give the riches of Buddha Dharma, more come to me and more chances come to me to give these riches to others. So we measure things in this way. We understand the value of this body, the preciousness of this breath and this breath and this breath. We don't waste them. We can rest. It's okay to rest. If you want to listen to music, you can listen to music. I'm not saying monastics have a tighter Vinaya, the rules for monastics, but lay people, you can do things in accordance with the middle way. But the thing is that you have to know what you're doing here. You little by little, the more you practice, the more you will practice. And it is in this way, Master Ling Chi was asked, well, people of these days, which was maybe 800 years ago, 900 years ago, 800 probably, these days, they say that they don't get it, they can't get it, it's too hard, it's too difficult. And he said, all the more so, they should practice. All the more so, they should generate the practice to develop an interest in practicing. If you're there and you can't you can't get it, study harder. That's how you do it. Really, that's truly how you do that. And so when you practice in this way, the benefits will come. You have to have the faith to know that the benefits will come. Likewise, when you transfer merit to people, somebody's in the hospital and it's touch and go. And you're reciting the Buddha's name for them. You're wishing them well. You're blessing them. You're seeing in your mind that they're getting better. You're not just saying it, no, but you sincerely are reciting. When you recite for somebody that's passed away, all the more so you recite sincerely. The people can benefit from it, and in some cases, they can feel it, even though they may be in a bardo period in between before lifetimes. And if they're already in a lifetime, then you are setting the course for them in that lifetime as a more beneficial rebirth. So you're beginning to give them a push in the next lifetime. It matters not whether the person in the first 7 days found a beneficial lifetime or they're still lingering around. It doesn't matter. You still go for the time to recite the Buddha's name for them sincerely as if they're right before you. And so if they're there and you feel it in this way, then they will receive it. The strength of the reception depends on how quiet you are and how sincere you are to bringing forth this benefit, this blessing, these wishes that are wished in this way. And it's not the wish of you, it's the wish of the Buddha mind. And the more that you practice in this way, where you are reciting for people using the Buddha mind to do it, the more you make a direct connection and the more powerful the recitation becomes, because you are there and you are reciting as if the Buddha was reciting. One Tibetan master says that when you recite the Buddha's name, it is the Buddha reciting the Buddha's name. This is the most powerful. The Buddha reciting the Buddha's name. The Buddha that's transferring the merit. In the beginning, this seems to be so abstract, and you may not have faith. But the moment you begin to see results of it, the more faith you will have. The more when the people make a connection, you will see it works in this way. It doesn't work tenfold or hundredfold, uncountable when you're transferring merit with the Buddha reciting the Buddha's name, transferring merit to a Buddha. You cut out all the middleman, you cut out all the illusory persons, everything. It's a direct connection. Direct. You are directing, you being the Buddha mind is directing that the benefit is going to go there. It's so simple. You have this powerful flow, like water coming out of a water hose with a little thing on it to spray. And you just go, oh, spray some over here. Spray some here. Spray some here. You're directing where the transfer of merit goes from the heart. This is why it works. In the old days, and the scholars talking about this, and they say, oh, this is a bunch of hooey, it's baloney, because, it isn't in this way. Everyone has their own individual karma. So how can you affect them in this way? Isn't it said that way? But no, but there's sutras to the contrary. There's inscriptions to the contrary, which talk about the benefit of transferring merit and that it's there. And they're saying, because there's just this person, how can you transpose your own merit to somebody else in this way? Please, this sounds scholastically and theravadically very correct. But that's why there was the turning of the Dharma wheel. I vowed to deliver innumerable sentient beings of self-nature. I vowed to deliver illusory sentient beings of self-nature. Who said that? Mind said that. There's not a you there. I don't know. Robert's here, and I went through this with him yesterday, and in looking at it and saying, who is talking? Who is doing this? And true to his filial parrotship, he did good. He hung in there. He didn't fall into the traps, but he understands from the heart. So if anybody saw that and didn't understand, it's because we were speaking chant. And he was looking at it sincerely before he made a response. But then the responses come easier when one understands. It's just mine. Just mine. And I'll put him up against some scholars and people that think they know a lot about Buddha Dharma, because he speaks from the heart. And And so when we understand this, we understand that what is listening right now is the Buddha mind. You are all part of the Ratna Gotra, which is the absolute clan. You're already in. And you understand this doesn't have to do with the illusory ego. It is that which cleans up. If you're there at the dinner table and spill a drink, who cleans it up? Mind cleans it up. You don't leave it there spilled. And if there's others around that see it, they too will join in and try to stop it before it leaks off the table. Why? They didn't spill it, but yet it has something to do with all of you. It's just the way it is. Isn't this what we do when we transfer merit? When we transfer merit, we say, what matters to you matters to me. That we may in the end go arm in arm to turn off the lights in samsara. But it matters. And we see it in this way. We don't see it and say, oh, Gilbert, you're a separate one. How can you, in your development of a perfect person, almost Confucianism, be able to help anybody else? Of course, because there's not a separate you. There's no ego, personality, life, or being. That is the main part of the Diamond Sutra. It is just mind. That's why transfer of merit works, because it's all created by the mind. How could you not, in using this mind and this consciousness, alter what appears in mind? If you could not alter it, you would not be a Buddha. But you are a Buddha. You cannot understand that because you're trying to fit all the Buddha realm inside between your two ears. But doing it like that, you're like the frog in the well. You can never see it that way. You cannot be in this way. You have to give your mind this broad pasture to see its potentiality, its essence. You learn that from words, but eventually you begin to demonstrate it. Demonstrating it, there's no you demonstrating it. It is just mind naturally flowing. This is why transfer of merit works. And the more you transfer merit in this manner, the more powerful it becomes. It's difficult for us sometimes because we really don't understand that. But what I wanted to do is get to the essence of why this works. It's part of our practice. It's part of how we bring people to the practice because it's easy. Namo Amitofo, Namo Wanshin Pusa, Namo Disan Pusa, Namo Pushen Pusa, Namo Wenshu Pusa. All of these different bodhisattvas that we're given respect to, they're not other than part of the Buddha clan, as are you in this way. When you awaken to this, you awaken to the incredible potential of transferring merit. It's absolutely incredible. And sometimes it can work things that are seemingly miraculous. I say seemingly miraculous because they're just a product of the mind, how the mind functions. But we think it's a miracle. Oh, God gave us a miracle, or somebody gave us a miracle. God capable of performing miracles. But wouldn't you, as part of the Buddha clan, also be capable of altering this environment, altering it for the better with your own intrinsic power? Like Master Han Chauden said, that you have to derive power from your own power. I find myself often repeating the same things in different groups. but it's because it's important to get this, because it makes all the rest of it begin to be understood. Okay, let's go on a little bit further. So it says, although merit transfer is well established in Buddhist studies, the phrase merit transfer does not directly translate any expression in Buddhist classical language. Rather, it corresponds to a range of expressions. One of them is parinamana. I'm not sure if I say that right, Santa. Parinamana. Yeah, okay. Which means transformation, which is very interesting because when we talk about it in this way and we say parinirvana means transformation, that gives you so much room to contemplate what transformation are we talking about? Transformation. So they're referring to this and saying it's transferring. What is transferring? What is this transformation that's happening? It is the ability to extend beyond your own physical body merits and the influence of mind itself. A transformation that can only happen when there's a transcendence from the idea of an individual life and being to a faith built on the fact that just this mind is the Buddha mind. And going here is very interesting when we talk about this and say, just this mind is the Buddha, because in the Chan school, it was challenged very early on in the um, would have been the 8th century and the 7th century in talking about just this mind. But then it was also revolving around no mind and say, no, it can't be just this mind, it has to be no mind. And then one of the masters that learned, and I forgot the names of the people, it might have been Dao Xin that was saying that just this mind, and then he went, one of his disciples went to another place, and Dao Xin sent somebody to talk to him and found, and he says, what is that old fellow talking about these days? And they said, oh, he's saying now no mind, and he says, when I was there, he was saying just mind, and now he's saying no mind. It doesn't matter to me one bit. It is, it's just mind. So it didn't matter whether Dao Xin had taught him no mind and then changed to just mind, it would have been the same. But the scholars cling on this and say, oh no, this was a major divergence in the practice. No, it wasn't. It was a result of seeing the application of the middle way. And in the middle way, it doesn't sit on this side or it doesn't sit on that side. But they were thinking that these masters were espousing something different. Quite to the contrary, they were marking out the middle course, which is neither this nor that. It is just the thusness of things that they could never understand. They couldn't go there because they can't look it up in their dictionary. They can't look it up in the Oxford Dictionary or whatever dictionary, Stanford Dictionary, and find something that would say that. No, how do you explain thusness and define it? But it is this thusness, my dear folks, that it is this thusness that enables us to open the gates of the treasury and freely distribute what's inside to anyone, because we have faith in this and that it works. The most important part of transferring merit is your faith, and in some cases the faith of the recipient that they can receive this. Sometimes they don't really understand it, so they will block it. They'll block it because of doubt, of ignorance, of fear. I don't want to, what if I did that? What if I jump in the void? Well, I don't know whether I'm going to come out on the other end. It could be, a sausage machine that I'm going into, the void. But it isn't in this way. It isn't. It is simply jumping into mind. Not bad. Not bad. You could have a worse landing. So it says transformation is the most common Sanskrit term for merit transfer, while in Theravadan, Patidana, the gift of attainment, is a standard Pali term from the 5th and 7th centuries onward. Studies of the origin of Buddhist merit transfer have focused on two distinct sets of practices: dedication of gifts to monastics for the benefit of deities and ancestors, with a strong precedent of Brahmanical ritual, and the direction or transformation, this parinamana, of one's own good deeds to ripen for the benefits of others. And this is a very interesting thing, because when Shifu was, Master Sheng was a young monk, he would see that the function of the monks at that time was relegated to performing at Buddhist funerals. And part of that performing at Buddhist funerals and merit transfer was the transfer of money to the monks, because this is the way that people could obtain benefit, by the merit of transferring money to the monks. That was a pretty good deal. It wasn't the second one where we transfer from our hearts. There was an intermediary there, and Shifu wasn't in line with that. He thought the Buddhists and Chan and right view was much more nobler than that, just simply their career of chanting for the dead and obtaining money from the populace, that he wanted to share Buddha Dharma with people in accordance with their ability to understand, but he wanted to share that, and not just simply go and bang a drum somewhere for somebody that passed away, but much more nobler. So this first type of way of doing it that kind of was there and very prevalent in Dharma Drum, along with other groups. It has been replaced by this idea that people gather to transfer merit to the dead in reciting, whether they're alive or whether they're dead. And sometimes they can go for hours, 8 hours at a time. 8 hours. That, to me, when I hear that, and I know some of my friends, my dear friends that do this, I'm humbled. I'm like really, really humbled that they can do that. And for people that they don't know. Of course they know them. How could they not know them? In their heart, they know them. There's no distinction, no discrimination. They're not too far from the practice when they practice in this way. So it's worthy of us to practice in this way and to transfer merit to people we don't know, whether they need an operation or they just passed or they're dying. No, we all mutually join in. Why not? This comes from the heart. It comes from Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, this highest wisdom. And why not? Why shouldn't we do that? Why shouldn't we transfer merit to people who are on the Bodhisattva path to strengthen them? I do this all the time. I'm constantly sending transfer of merit to all of you, as well as many, many monastics, that won't come to fruition for another 20 years, 10 years, 30 years. It doesn't matter. I'm setting the seeds for it now by transferring merit to these that need it. They need that extra push. They need the faith. They need to continue on this road and to give them faith. and give them faith that it works and show them how it works and give them faith that when something incredible happens to you, then you have faith. You really know it works. And it's in this way that it may have happened to you or you heard stories of something, but you understand it. You care. You you care and you understand how to transfer merit to people. So again, the second one is direction or transformation of one's own good deeds to ripen for the benefit of oneself or others. More here, I would say not oneself, but for others to ripen. Um, for others is more important for oneself. I don't ever transfer merit to myself to to be a better lecturer, but I do set my sights on that and hold myself to a very critical review of what I've said in lectures. And sometimes I really feel shamed and lacking in what I'm presenting. Um, it, but it's something that I understand. I just have to try harder to do that, to hold myself to a, a more higher and higher level of practice because it matters. Um, so there's quite a bit here, and I wish I could go through all of it, but we're running out of time already, and I haven't even gotten past the first page of the many pages I did. But it says many scholars have argued that the merit transfer serves an important social and psychological functions by softening the severe individualism of karma and by relating monastics and laity to each other and ancestors and deities. This is scholar talk um, about these social and psychological functions by softening. It's not softening, it's illuminating what one is doing. It's illuminating uh, uh, speech, thought, and action. And seeing how those all fit together. It doesn't have anything to do with I feel good about it. It is just the necessity of doing it. So when scholars talk in this way, to me it's nonsense because they don't get it. They're looking at it, under a microscope, but they can't see the whole picture. They don't understand that this microscopic viewpoint, which makes them sometimes very, very informative, because if you pick something that nobody's ever written about, you can become an expert on it pretty quickly until somebody else reads on it and refutes what you're saying. So we're always careful about the so-called word scholar. It isn't bad. I'm not downing scholars, but I think scholars also have to be true and honest to what they're doing. That if they're not practitioners, then at least they have to understand from where this goes, even though they don't have any individual experience or realizations which would alter drastically what they're writing. They should at least respect it. And there's more of that, but I won't bash on scholars tonight completely anyway. Um, Now I'll go to the all important authoritative source, Wikipedia, which actually I use a lot to bounce off of that and to read something and then read the source materials that are being quoted. And so it isn't necessarily bad. You have to understand sometimes who's writing it can be a Christian, or they could be, a Theravadan, or from a Tibetan slant, from a Chinese Mahayana slant, many different slants. but you kind of use it as a little bit of a template to work from. And again, go to the source materials when they're quoting sutras, and you'll find that's very, very helpful. Here, I'm starting to speak Spanish. Here, they're talking about again parina mana, and in Pali it's pati dana, um, and it's saying that is a standard part of Buddhist spiritual discipline, where the practitioner's merit resulting from good deeds is transferred to the deceased relatives, deities, and all sentient beings. So it is in this way, at least they put to all sentient beings. So it's not just simply for people that are dying or dead. It is like everybody. Anytime you can transfer merit, transfer merit. Be mindful in this way. And they say such transfer is done mentally, and it is believed that the recipient can often receive this merit if they rejoice in the meritorious acts of a person transferring. In Buddhism, merit transfers is seen as a better alternative to mourning. They're two different things. Mourning, when we say that, yes, it is because there's no reason to cry for that. It doesn't mean that one can't weep for a loved one that passed away. But the thing is that we also realize there is a function that we follow, and whatever mourning we have should not interfere with that function of transferring merit. So it isn't that you couldn't do the two simultaneously. And I'm not one that would say, "Oh, don't mourn. All you have to do is just do recitation. You don't need to cry." Uh, Of course, if you've lost somebody close to you, you're going to cry. That's natural. You're not a full-fledged 100% bodhisattva, but it is in this way that when we practice, we understand that. Scholars have discussed how the doctrine of transfer of merit can be reconciled with the individual nature of karma in Buddhism. And this again is baloney. There's not just an individual nature of Buddhism, of karma in Buddhism. If they studied harder, they'd realize that there's collective karma, right? So if a whole group of people are doing things, then they all will get punished. They'll be punished in accordance with their participation, and the damage that they've done. So it's not just in that way. So that's a fallacious argument where one talks about it and says the karma is only for an individual. There are individual karma, and then there's collective karma as well as collective seeing and obstructions. If you want a reference point, the the Dharma Vibhanga Sutra is very clear about that, how we share karma, and some karmas in particular to us as well. But so obviously they didn't get to that level of training to understand that. I'm mentioning this because when I'm reading this, there's stuff you're going to look at Wikipedia and you go, oh, it's there, but then you look at it and you just go like, no, this is not quite correct. This is somebody that's book learned in terms of it. What I'm teaching you is how to use your heart to transfer merit and why it works, because it's all created by the mind, but it's not separate in one iota from anybody else. How could it not work? So, and this is part that's very good, where it says in Mahayana Buddhism, transfer of merit became an essential aspect of the ideal of a bodhisattva, the Buddha to be, who uses his merits to help all living beings. In this way, it is part of the cultivation of a bodhisattva, and it's the initial generation of the bodhi heart of a bodhisattva to vow to deliver others before oneself, And part of that is the transferring of merit to enable others to become closer to the Dharma, to in this life and in future lives, that they achieve beneficial rebirths and start on the way to having a sincere practice. In talking about this word parinamanya is used for transferring merit, meaning change, alteration, ripening, bringing to maturity, development, diversion. These are all names that are associated with that Sanskrit word. Something about Sanskrit is that if you look it up, a word, it has much more meanings than a word in English would have if you look at something that is there. It would have implications of meanings with it. That doesn't mean that you pick one, but these kind of resemble it, but you understand that they're only resembling it. They're not it, but they have something to do with, for instance, a change or a ripening, a bringing maturity to the practice. We no longer practice, like, please God, let me get this job, please, please. It's not like that way. Or please Buddha, I should say. Please Buddha, let me get this job. No, it isn't in this way. There's a maturation that one sees it and understands that it is loftier than that. It is more noble than that. It is taking care, as if a mother learns how to become a mother, how to bring the children along. There's a maturation there. And part of that is illuminating their way or their environment with your own transferring of merit to them. In the development and diversion, taking them off this course. If somebody is on a course where they're becoming a donut-holic, you want to say, please don't go that way. You're just going to get fat. You're going to rot your teeth. You're going to come back this way, and move them back in a way to redirect them. As you redirect mind redirects mind can redirect the mind of others in the same way. So this transferring of merit is you're like lending your wisdom to them to do that. It's like your neighbor, you see him out there and he's using, most of you probably won't even know the reference, an old push reel mower, that they had in the 50s, where you'd push behind it. There's no motor there. Only your legs are the motor. And you say, you not only take your power mower over, but you mow the lawn for them, make it easier for them. And they start realizing, hey, if I got a power mower, I could just cut right through all of this. That's right. It works in this way. But you're the one that's helping them, maturing them to do this, to develop. Now, the term merit, and I believe it's punya, the pronunciation of it, is a concept considered fundamental in Buddhist ethics. It is beneficial and protective force that accumulates as a result of good deeds, acts, and thoughts. So this is kind of like this merit or positive karma that one develops from the practice. But it is this punya that we're able to transfer it to others. You're transferring this merit to them. Will they get the full benefit? Sometimes, sometimes not. But it's better than nothing. So we don't measure it with a scale to say, oh, I've given them this much, I'm just going to give them 5 minutes worth. I don't really know them that well. No, if you're going to do it, do whatever you can, and then the classifications of people like them, you also equally transfer the merit to them. Okay. Hold on. I'm going to stop there. Although I've talked quite a bit about this, I really have quite a bit of. I've only gone to 2 pages so far, and I have all of this, and it's really a wealth of information to pass to you. And I want to spend the time carefully on transfer of merit because it's so important. It really is an important aspect of our practice. And when you get it right, it helps everyone. It's devotional. We can practice and do it. But then when we know how to really use it, oh my gosh, there's such a tremendous change in this transferring of merit when one then begins to realize that you're not just using your consciousness or the idea of Gilbert to transfer merit. And I'll give you a teaser about that is that when we transfer merit to others, when we're reciting the Buddha's name for others, then it can really change. In the evening, I may have a specific class or a group of people or one person that I'm doing recitation. I use something like these beads, and so there's 108 beads, and so I use it as my measurement, and I'll go Namo Amitofo, Namo Amitofo, Namo Amitofo, Namo Amitofo. Each time you move the bead after you complete Namo Amitofo. Namo Amitofo, or Namo Guan Shin Pusa. So you get all the way over to 108, and you can stop or you can keep going. Sometimes you just keep going. And I'll go Namo Guan Shin Pusa, Namo Guan Shin Pusa. Respect to Guan Yin Bodhisattva, Namo Guan Shin Pusa, Namo Guan Shin, until I get it. And then there's times when I'm doing it, and I'm picturing Guan Yin and focusing power on the treasury of Guan Yin to include additional power. It's like the solar panels on the top of your house that give a little extra boost to the electricity that comes into your house. Now, some solar panels aren't worth anything, but some of them might give a little bit of spark. But you're giving spark to Guan Yin, and you're praising Guan Yin, but you're giving spark to here, like going to church and making a donation. You're donating this merit to Guan Yin. So then I finally get to this part here. Namo Guan Shin Pusa, Namo Guan Shin Pusa, Namo Guan Shin Pusa. And then I get to, and it's different. In this part, I'm hearing the prayers of people that are asking for assistance. Somebody who knows where, in a remote part of China or Malaysia or wherever. And I'm aware of it. I'm aware that people are reciting Guan Yin's name or Amitabha's name or Jesus or the Virgin Mary. It doesn't matter. All of these prayers are coming up. And you use the heart to pass on to others. So as if you're an extension, one of the arms of Guan Yin, you're using this kind of an extension to help directly. No longer are you going to the church to drop off your transfer of merit with Guan Yin, but you're using Guan Yin directly to send the the transfer of merit. This is a totally different way of doing it. But if one is very quiet, you can even hear the suffering of those, not just human beings, ghosts, hell dwellers, animals, insects, even people in heaven that think that they're having a great time, or the Ashurlo battling out. All of this can be received simultaneously, not from your consciousness. Your consciousness could not handle it. It would be like focusing 5 billion hits at one time on a website. It would overload it. But when it is unlimited, it truly can do incredible work. And you're listening. You actually can listen, not just with your ears, but with your eyes, with your heart. And what that does when you finish the next day, you're still listening to the people around you. There's no difference. You can listen to see if they're suffering. You can listen to see if something is going to be bad that's going to happen to them, or what's happening, or if they've been practicing. Your mind becomes very aware because you've opened those channels that are now unrestricted. Before they were obstructed. Is it real? Is it not real? Don't think about it this way. Just practice opening the heart to the transferring of merit. Next week, we'll go back through this again and talk more about it, because I think it's such an important topic. And what I want to do is I want to come back full circle to where people think, oh, Gilbert, he's just talked for the intellectuals. No, I don't talk for the intellectuals. I talk for people that want to learn more and have the ability to do that, to give them an opportunity. But I don't do that to forsake those who are devotional. Those who are devotional, I too respect them, and I too want to give them something, to offer them something as to how to even become more powerful with their transfer of merit. So this is where we end today. I hope that you picked up a little bit more about what Buddhism is. It's certainly not scholarly in the way of just being a scholar, but it doesn't reject knowledge and history and doctrine. But it also doesn't reject devotional practice. So, Amitofo, I'll open it up for questions. You can unmute yourself. I think Santa probably unmuted you. There you go.
Oh, sorry, you didn't call on me, so I wasn't sure if I'm up for the question. Thank you so much, Gilbert, for the lecturing. And the part that you mentioned about when you're doing the recitation, you're able to sense or hearing the sentient beings like from around the world. And this reminded me of a very recent experience that I have. So I'll just share the experience, and if you have any feedback, let me know, or any input. So I was seeing this client, this particular client I've seen for a long time, for many years. He's my ongoing, the oldest client, not like by age, but just how much time that he, spent and seeing me. And his health has been declining. And that last time he came into the session, I was like, I don't remember this client smokes, and this overwhelming smoke scent. And then after he left, the smell was still there. I came home, the smell was still there. And for days. And I was just talking to my brother. I said, I don't know how we got on this situation. I said, I think there's something going on with this client, and maybe there's some spirit following him and decides to follow me after. Um, So I started doing transferring merit, and I was reading the Stikaba Sutra, for my mother and for, a lot of other people, of course. So I included him over there, and I include the client, and I also included this possibility maybe there's some spirits going on with this client, right? So and I start doing that, and the smell start to dissipate, and by maybe the third or the fourth day of doing this, it's gone. It's gone. So I think there's something going on there.
Yeah, as you begin to practice and quiet yourself, you begin to notice more and more about the people around you. Some people actually, good practitioners, they can smell like a flower or incense. And and people who are angry or drinkers, they have a very kind of a foul and rotten smell coming from them. You're not smelling it with your nose, you're actually smelling it with your eyes. I know it sounds very strange, but they're interchangeable. All your senses are. And so you're able to perceive more because you're calm. If you discriminate, then it goes away. But if you just understand that there's information that comes in, it gives you more of a totality of information to be able to assess the person. You can see, are they have a lot of yang qi or in qi? Are they sweating a lot? Are their eyes very furtive? Sometimes people go like that and they're looking, different ways. Sometimes when you ask a person a question and they go, then you know that it's difficult for them to answer it, and they don't want to answer it, and they may be telling you a lie. A lot of different things that you are what I call tells, but there's tells beyond just the FBI tells or the CIA tells, but much more sophisticated, coming from the heart itself, being able to detect further into what they're doing. But this comes from just listening. This is what you're doing now, is you're listening. So it's not just listening, and to you and your type of work as a counselor. You've heard this so many times. Sometimes you can, even write it out yourself what they're going to tell you. But that becomes from listening. But in that listening, you have to still make it something meaningful for that particular person, the thing that they need to hear, not what they want to hear, but need to hear. And that requires a great stillness in the heart to be able to say something to them that is they appreciate, because they've been waiting all week to talk to you. And so you've got to make it something good. So when I talk to people, especially when I'm on retreats and they want to talk to me, even though I hardly get any rest at a retreat, I'll still make time to talk to people, and we use the sincerity to do it. The more you become sincere, the more intuitive you'll get. So there's no doubt that you're becoming more intuitive in what you do. So long as you don't cling to it, even greater intuition will come to you. And I believe that will be the case. So good. Thank you for sharing that. That was good. Wendy, you're up next.
Oh, thank you. I have a tough situation that at work today I needed some help. Somebody picked up, no, I wasn't signed out. So somebody used my sign to gave me a whole bunch of shift. That's very difficult. I called the union. They said, well, it's your problem. You didn't sign out. So now how do I transfer merit to this guy or girl who put me in kind of give, like I'm thinking, how do you remain calm when somebody give you that fraud credit card? Like now I was just don't know what to do with this. How do I transfer merit at all? And I'm just bored.
First, I have to clarify, I was not given a fraudulent credit card. They thought it was fraudulent credit card because they couldn't process it through their machines. It was a failure of their machines. Uh, but in any case, I transferred merit to the people I was dealing with, including the manager of the store that was putting me in a false light. And then I finally went attorney on him and said, you know, that um, uh, you have no proof of anything, and this is not a good policy. So eventually they backed off of it. But the thing is that you stand up for your rights, but you don't get emotional about it, and you just stay calm. And passing merit to people who have harmed you is so hard. At least it was for me. It was so hard for me to where people really took advantage of me or took several $1,000s, many, $1,000 from me that they didn't deserve. And nevertheless, um, I transferred merit to them, and this was totally counter to what um, what I would originally think about or what I was capable of in terms of going the opposite way. But I came out the better person for it by far. Whatever they did to me, they have to deal with it, and it will be taken away from them. I don't have to do anything about that, but to let yourself go so that you don't become attached to any kind of a negative experience is so much more powerful. It opens you up into a whole different level of letting go. It's not easy, Wendy. It's not easy because you get so angry because people are actually taking from you. Doesn't mean you can't document the fact that somebody did something wrong, but don't hold on to it. If you have the power of forgiveness, it's a great power. It's a very, very great power. I cannot stress how much that change in terms of transforming me, literally transforming me into a much more compassionate person. Because if I could forgive my enemies or the people that sought to either put me in a false light or to take money from me or try to cause harm in some way, and forgive all those people, then there wasn't anything I couldn't do with the Buddha Dharma. So just keep that in mind, that you take the higher road and you get the higher benefits from that. The people, whoever did whatever they did, if they did that knowingly, they know that's recorded, you know, and they will pay for it. It is something that, causes and conditions never fail. So you don't have to be part of that. I know it's hard. It's very, very hard to do it the other way, but it leads to liberation. So you should be happy to have some kind of a petty thief or petty person like that in your lifetime to allow you to practice. I'm not talking about somebody who's really cruelly horrible, violent people, but I'm talking about people that do things like that for their own gain. So I think it's fine. You'll learn from it. Just take to heart what I just said to you, and you'll come out of it better on the other end. Okay?
Thank you.
Tom, where'd he go? You see him? Oh,
I can read Tom's. Tom doesn't have a microphone. We've got 3 people with questions that can't speak. So let me because Tom was had his hand up. Let me read out Tom's question. On one hand, I am a Buddha, so I can transfer merit. On the other hand, it seems that ego consciousness is not the Buddha. So how do I transfer merit? It seems to me that the Buddha mind transfers merit, not my mind transferring merit. The me part is illusory. Perhaps then it's just that merit is transferred. The me part is incidental. It's like being a conduit. Is this correct? Amitofo and thank you. This lecture significantly deepened my understanding and has come at precisely the right moment.
Let's start from the back of what you were talking about. And it is in this way, a lot of people are devotional practitioners, but a lot of them that come here, they didn't have that exposure to devotional practices. And on the other hand, those who have practiced devotionally haven't really delved into the profoundness of their practice itself. And so this is something that benefits all sides. And it's something that's important because as you begin to see this, you begin to see how wisdom and compassion become interlaced. We don't worry about if this recipient is someone that isn't worthy of receiving it. I remember a long time ago there was a movie called The Fearless Vampire Killers, which has a kind of a horrible connection to something else that happened. But in any case, in the movie, there was a vampire, and this young man goes like this and puts up a stake in front of him like this to prevent him from getting bit. And the vampire just laughs and pulls out a pendant with the Star of David on it. And so then the person realized, well, this isn't going to really protect him. But it isn't in that way. In terms of being a Buddhist, we don't see things and discriminate and say this person is a Christian or this person is whatever else that they are. Everybody is seen the same way. And, we don't take people away from their faith. We nevertheless can transfer merit. My sister, the Roman Catholic, she's always blessing me and sending angels down to protect me. Now she's got to get in with the archangel, so she's always sending me protection when I'm flying on a plane, and I openly receive it. I mean, why not? If somebody's going to send me protection, why would I say I'm not a Catholic? That doesn't help me. No, of course not. It is in this way that we practice, and maybe the people, they may not be of your religion, but nevertheless they can receive the benefits no matter what. They may translate them into a miracle of God or whatever. It doesn't matter. We just don't discriminate, don't differentiate in anything that we do. The more that we practice in this way, the more powerful the practice gets. I'm not sure if I really got to the crux of your question, but it was a pretty good response. But did I catch it or did I miss something, Santa?
It's good. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I've got two more questions. Yang asks, how to transfer my merit of meditation, good deed, to a sick person when her face appears to me in my mind when I'm doing Zen meditation. The transfer will benefit the person in recovering from illness? That's a question. Is that correct? How to do it step by step? Or no specific steps during meditating, just from heart to heart, make a sincere good wish? I like to learn. Thanks. This young girl.
When you practice meditation, unless you're specifically sitting to transfer merit, and sometimes I will do that, sit in a meditative position and transfer merit. But if I'm just sitting, then these other thoughts should not be entertained until after you finish, and then you use it afterwards or before that you can do this. And by the way, a good time to do all of this is right before you go to sleep, and you can afford some time to do that. You just keep your beads by your bed. I keep them in a box and pull them out, and the lights are off and everything, and I'm just sitting on the side of my bed doing it until I feel like I'm finished, and then I wrap them up and put them back in the box and go to sleep, and you have a wonderful sleep because of that. But when you meditate, you just follow your method. Don't bring up anything else. These things will come up naturally, but just put them to the side until you finish. And then when you finish, then you can transfer merit to the person. Or you can say that I transfer merit of my sitting to this person and do it that way too. So that the perfection of your practice is actually helping the person in this way as well. So there's ways to do that, but don't let the mind get tricked into going off of your method in terms of that. But the transfer of merit is something that can happen all day long, other than when you're meditating. I'm always transferring merit to somebody. Um, and because of who I am, and people ask for my guidance and my assistance and my blessings, I give them, and I try to do it as much as I can and diligently as I can, to make sure that that person is protected. So you'll find your way with it. It's just kind of a feeling, an intuition. But when you're doing your meditation, just do your meditation. Don't hold on to transferring merit. Your transfer of merit comes after you sat well. Okay. All right. What else we got? Okay. No problem. Any other questions?
Yes, from Arvind. Is sincere practice itself nothing but transferring merit to all beings? Or is intentional transfer of merit still somehow different, even though all beings are just mind?
It's a fulfillment of our vows we vow to deliver innumerable sentient beings. And so when we do that, it's part of what we're doing. What it does is it draws us into the Mahayana and away from let's say, a Theravadan viewpoint of reaching nirvana. Individually, we're creating the idea that because we're part of mind, there's no individual part of us that reaches nirvana and earlier than anybody else, because that would presuppose we have an individual life and being, which isn't the way it is. But it's enough what we're there, and it's as if somebody is running in a marathon. And I don't know if you've ever seen this, where somebody that was trying so hard starts to collapse, and the other person will pick them up and carry them across the line. And it didn't matter whether they're losing 5, 10, 20 positions, they will do that to help the person cross the line. And that's the way that we practice, is that our practice is in helping people cross the line, and just like Senta was telling me before the class sent me something saying that I have a lot of deliveries still left to go. And I sent her a picture of an old stork, and saying, yeah, that's me right there, just stork carrying all these babies across. But you're all my babies, and when we see it in this way, it's not bad practice. Of course, I'm more romanticizing it, but it is what we do as practitioners in Mahayana, and it begins to color in what a Buddhist really is, that we are a verb, not a noun. Okay. Nick.
Yeah, thank you for the lecture, Gilbert. I was curious, I think it's easy for us to have a specific person in mind, either somebody we might know personally or just throughout the day that we dedicate merit to. But if we're dedicating, I guess, just to a general, there's plenty of things in the world that we could dedicate merit to. Does the application or the process switch much in between like a specific person and a general group, or just dedication?
It is to transfer merit to an entire class of people. It really requires the mind and the heart to be very still but dynamic. It's not easy to do that. When we have a focal point of one person, somebody's in the hospital or whatever, we can still do that. I still do that. But then in turn, I add all people who are in the hospital, who have this condition, all people, and then you just keep going from there. It doesn't lose your attention to the one that you're giving it to. So if you really want to give merit transfer merit to one person, it doesn't dilute. This is very important. It does not dilute or diminish your own merit by doing that. That's kind of a secret, that you don't lose your merit because of that. And they go, how much merit? I go, oh God, I don't have any left. That's why I got a flat tire, because I don't have any merit left. I gave it all up. It isn't in that way. The more you give, the more comes back to you. And the more comes back to you, the more you realize it's working. And the more you can expand the awareness of the mind to include these different classes, you'll be very surprised how infinite the mind is, how incredibly infinite. And in a single moment, being able to know if a cricket has fallen off a branch, to know, that a chipmunk is fighting to protect their young, or a bear is looking for food, or whatever it is, or a ghost is lost, or all these different things. The mind is capable, literally, truly capable, of having all of these things simultaneously present in its awareness. It's not separate from it. There's no space there. I know that may sound like using the Taiwanese word blowing the cow, making things bigger. Imagine if you can do that. But you can't. You can't. And it doesn't diminish one iota your transferring of merit to this one person, because that's the door that you enter. That's a door that enters to let you use your heart in this way. Little by little, what I'm doing has taken me years and years of practice. But the reason I'm telling you this is because there's no one that I've spoken to tonight that is not capable of reaching this level if you truly practice in a sincere way. That's why they say, Guan Yin, here's the suffering of the world simultaneously. It's not one here, one there, like that. It would take forever to try to see it in that way, but collectively it can be heard. And in a way that can spotlight as well as feel all of it simultaneously, because it's not conceptual as the consciousness that we use as an individual. It's unlimited, unbridled, inconceivable. You place your heart there in the inconceivable, and you'll be very surprised. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Questions were very good today.
Wonderful.
This is a very...
Gilbert, that just reminded me of what you told me when I saw you a couple months ago, and you said, be the inconceivable. That such wonderful words.
That I said what?
Be the inconceivable.
Oh, be the inconceivable. Yes. It is in that way that when Manjushri was asked, how do you even explain or practice the inconceivable? And he said, I am the inconceivable. And that's so powerful when we do. Yeah, Asenta, that's exactly what I'm talking about, is that when the mind is the inconceivable, nothing is lacking anywhere. It is aware, like sometimes I say, is aware of a blade of grass growing somewhere in the world. And when the mind is in this way, it's inconceivable. It's the unobstructed. And when we see things in this way, and I say we collectively as the Ratnagotra clan, as the Buddha mind, then if there's no obstructions, it's very incredible. Now, I haven't gotten to such a fine-tuned point with most things. All I know is the more I look at it, the more inconceivable it becomes. It almost seems like the more I look at this, the more it moves so far away from me, because it isn't that it's moving so far away. the mind is coming to a realization of how infinite it is, how incredibly infinite it is, that you're never going to get and go, oh, it's like as if you went, oh, I finished everything that's on the internet. What do you mean you finished everything on the internet? It's like knowing everything that's on the internet simultaneously, and then multiply that by infinity. That's mind. We can't even begin to see how powerful mind is. Okay, so it's good. Anything else? Yeah, thank you, Santa, for that, because it's a good parallel to it. Nothing else? Okay. Yupin, you where you're at, either there's a wind blowing through or you have a fan on.
Me?
Yeah, because my dog is overheated every day. So I have
Are you in Taiwan?
no, I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Where?
Lincoln, Nebraska.
Oh, I thought you said in Russia. I'm going, oh my gosh. Well, it's about the same, but so it's fine. Okay. All right. So everybody's doing okay. We since no other questions, I just poke around and see who's here. So,
Gilbert,
yes.
like every time I tuned in, your talk was something I would kind of just like really came in time for my situation. It's really interesting.
Because you have an affinity with me and the Dharma that I teach, it's always been there. So I think the more you listen with your heart, the better practitioner you become. Because you're really, really trying hard to understand it. And sometimes it's very easy, and sometimes it's very difficult, the doctrinal one. But today I enjoyed giving this class because I wanted to show that even though this is so deep and profound, but everybody can do it, and even if you do it on the Shravaka level, the sound hearer level, it's still good. Devotional is still good. But if you do it and you harness it to the real deep, profound Buddha Dharma, it's absolutely opens the door to the esoteric, to this inconceivable that Senta was mentioning. And that's against from the Maha Prajnaparamita Sutra, the Astasasrika Sutra. And so, it's in this way. The more you practice, you will do that. So it's time for you to come back to a retreat with me. So I've been
I would like to.
Yeah, I've been putting that.
I don't
in
even
my
know
mind.
where you're going.
Neither do I. I'm just going to too many places. So I'll be going to next week. I'll be in Singapore, and then from there Australia, and then going back to Singapore again. So in Singapore, I'm presenting in different groups over there, and so it's a good trip. I'll be going into the dead of heat of Singapore, and then winter in Australia. So it's going to be kind of strange how I pack my bags to do that.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a very important trip. As I'm spreading right view Dharma and reinforcing it in other areas, so it's good. So after that, I'll be in not too far from me, Michigan, for a quickie retreat up there. If you want to do a drive up there, not too far.
It's fine.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, like I don't know, 12, 14 hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought it was like more like 5 hours or something.
I'm interested in your retreat next year in the 10,000 Buddha Monastery.
That one's going to be probably in January. They gave me a November date, but I'll be dead before January, if I did that one, because I just have too many places I'm going. So I'm interested in that one. That one's a very small venue, and It's right in the redwoods, right by Big Sur. If anybody knows California, Big Sur is like uh, uh, like Sue's area, almost heaven, West Virginia, but Big Sur is really amazing area of redwoods. And so I haven't gone there yet, but I will go there. That I talked to two of their monks that were they were just blown away by the Dharma I was presenting to them. So they want me to do that. So I'll have that come soon. No, that one will be a fun one. I don't know how many people I'll be able to get there. If you can get into it, good luck, because it's going to be a small one, but it's going to be a fun one, especially for the people from over there.
So when can we get the registration information? When
Just stay on the forum, and then Esther puts the stuff down there. So I haven't made, I owe them a call. You remind me now, I owe them a call to talk to them about setting up a date in January. And so it'll be my first one in January, whenever the time is. I'd like to do it in November because the weather would be really good then, but I just don't think I could do that and survive the year. I have a very strict schedule that's coming up in terms of places. So anyway, so yeah, it's good though. Everything. I have 2 seasons this year. One's a traveling season, and the second one is recovering from traveling and trying to get my body back into shape before the next time I go out. So that's what I'm doing now, is trying to get myself back into shape. And I come back kind of like limping and reeling and exhausted, and I have to catch up with everything there. But that's the way it's going to be throughout till the end of the year. So, but Estonia was very nice, beautiful place, wonderful, wonderful place, very high tech. I had a bunch of euros with me, but nobody spends the euros. Everything is in plastic. If you don't have plastic, you can't get around. Only the credit card, is used wherever you go, and they're so highly mechanized, and anybody that loves computer stuff, they would love living in that place. And the people are very, very calm. They some are religious, but most of them, they come from a background of what I think it's called animist, the ones that worship nature from before. So for most of the time in Estonia, they worship nature deities, forest gods or lake gods and other things like that. And it's very telling in the way the people, they're very earthy, very wonderful, very quiet, very, I would put them in the level of Canadians and Taiwanese, very cool people. And so it was fun, and they were a delight to work with over there. And so, that's some place that I really hope can take off. But anyway, that's it. Okay, you guys, I'll hang up and enjoy the rest of my birthday, and I really don't mind spending it with all of you. So it's something worthwhile to me. So I'll take care. Bless you all. Transfer and merit to all of you. I mean, take care.